Welcome, everyone. This is a special kind of huddle we have here going on. I brought the best of the NGBN television network to join me. Middle of the day, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's called the coaching carousel because nobody knows who's in it, who's out right now. There's been so many changes. I got Brian Jonas, the host of Pick Up the Six and the F3 Circle of Trust on NGBN TV. I got Charles Schultz, host of The Edge of Greatness. And joining us now, Rafael Esparza, the best bookmaker in the world. The guy knows everything. He has connections everywhere. So he's probably going to know some stuff that we wish we knew yesterday. But, we got the best minds of NGBN right now on the air. We wish we could have more people with us. But this is an emergency meeting due to all the changes. So we had to kind of throw it together quick. And don't forget the NGBN TV sneak peek, January 29th. Download the app, on all your devices. You're going to get some great sports shows, some great shows of every type. But, we're excited about it. Rafael, welcome, man.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Just in shock with, retirements. Some of them are shocking. Some of them aren't. Like, we all knew Belichick was out at New England, whether he was leaving or getting fired. I don't think there was any question he was going to leave. But then to have Saban on the same day at Alabama announce his retirement, I think that was shocking. What do you think, Charles?
Yeah, no, I knew Saban was getting close to the end, but I think the nature of college football right now and then going to the 12-man or 12-team playoff might have been the tipping point. And he just was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with all of the recruiting of current players, new players, NIL. Like, it's just way more on his plate than he's probably ever had to deal with before. And it just seems like it's a good time to go, all right, well, I had my run. It's time to go and sail off into the sunset.
Brian, the NIL seemed to be a big problem. The transfer portal, I think, was the biggest problem because Saban, I think, was one of the best recruiters in college. He gets, 5 stars like nobody else. But now they're all leaving if they're not happy, and it's hard to keep guys. What do you think the issue was?
Well, guys, college football, coaching a premier college football team is already sort of pre-NIL, pre-transfer portal. It's such a time-consuming commitment. You look at what it does to these guys. It takes so much to be able to do it and do it successfully. The fact that he's had the run that they've had at Alabama, he's multiple champion in multiple schools. His legacy was cemented years ago, but man, to think about re-recruiting your players at the level in which it takes, plus now you add a whole nother business element to it. I could understand why at 60 something years old, he might even be older than that. I don't even got Saban's age in front of me. Dude, he's done everything in the sport. He goes down as, I think, the greatest college football coach of all time, which, being at the University of Alabama, saying something in and of itself. So it's probably just one of those, like, do we want to make another run at this? Do we want to go again? I'm staring at an off season of all this NIL, re-recruiting current players, a 12-team playoff. You know what? We've had a good run here. We ride off into the sunset. It was surprising, right? Like, you figured at some point he'd hang it up. I wasn't expecting it the other day. I thought wasn't expecting it the other day. So that's why it was just like, whoa. And we're like, we're on the chat. We're like, we have an emergency show. It's just, man, they're going everywhere. But it's also ironic, right? Those two guys are like best buddies, right? Saban, Belichick, they're on the staff together, I think, in Cleveland. So it's interesting that they end up within 24 hours of each other for sure.
Rafael, do you have odds yet on where Belichick's going to end up and who's going to be the next coach of Alabama? Because I know you were working all night with all this news. I could see it in your eyes.
Yeah, I think I've got about 2 hours of sleep because everyone, NFL and coachings went chaos last night. But I also had the Republican-Iowa debate that I had a great prop bets on that. I had to watch that 3 times because on the fights and people talking so fast.
I got a couple 6th grade volleyball games I need to get on your schedule for bets, and we can see if we can really round out the powerhouse.
I've done high school football.
I bet you have.
I've done Texas football and stuff like that for high school. So that would not. If I have enough film and enough research, I could put pretty much a betting on pretty much anything. But Belichick, we have odds right now. The Atlanta Falcons are the favorite, even money. I think that would probably fits well for them. Pretty much all they need is a quarterback, and I think with that crappy division, I think us four that could probably win that division right now. And then of course the Commanders, Titans, Panthers. I'm hearing the Panthers are probably going to go not a name, but maybe like a coordinator name, if that makes sense to you guys. I don't think they're not going to land Harbaugh, not going to land Belichick, they're not going to Vrabel and stuff like that. They're probably going to get an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator from someone. And then of course the Chargers, but I think we all know Chargers they only want one person only right now, and that's Harbaugh. So, I mean, they're on the list at 8-1. Raiders is going to be very interesting because we've already heard Antonio Pierce got to ask for other jobs for interviewing. I don't understand why the Raiders have not just given him the job. The players want him there. The Black Hole wants him there. So, he's 9-1. And then, of course, the Seahawks at 25-1. Patriots next head coach, tons of money. And my researcher told me it's going to be probably Jared Mayo. Everyone thought it was going to be Mike Vrabel yesterday. Probably going to be Jared Mayo as the head coach. He was yesterday, I think, at plus 450. Now he's minus 350. And Doug for Mike Vrabel is now plus 250, which he was the favorite yesterday at minus 110. So what's coming out of the Patriots camp and my resources over Nesson and all that, they're saying Jared Mayo will probably be the job. And then going back to Nick Saban, I know I'm probably talking a lot. I wish I can say this is for sure. You know me, JB. I always have to have multiple sources before I break news on social media and all that. I hate to say this is what I heard, and I only have one source. Anything that comes to medical, I always look for 3 or 4 sources. I'm hearing Saban might have left because not him medical, but somewhere around him could be one of the main reasons why he wanted to stay home, be around, and stuff like that. It was probably transfer portal. Everything you say, 110%. I think maybe if there was something medical, I think that probably put the cherry on the cake and say, hey, you know what, I'm done. But my one source that told me yesterday, which I highly respect him, but again, I can't just release news on one source. I always look for 2 or 3 before I can say something. I wish I had multiple ones, but people are probably doing the same. Probably working harder for me for that second, third choices because I got odds to do, and I got other stories to do with baseball going on free agency and stuff like that, and golf. And so I wish I can just concentrate on these old farts that retired.
It's never that easy. But you know what? Dave heard it was an emergency meeting and an emergency show, and he showed up. So we got to give him credit for that. I know he's busy doing 8 million things as well.
Yep.
Dave.
Yeah.
I mean, your guy's out. Pete Carroll, he's going to the front office. Shocking that this happened. No, I don't think anyone expected him to leave just yet. He is a bit older, but I don't think that was, the thought because they had a good year in Seattle. What's your thoughts on the Saban, Belichick, and Carroll news?
Well, so I think, of course, the least surprising, I think, is Belichick. That writing has been on the wall for a minute. I think they're just waiting for him to lose and be able to dismiss him. He has zero just connection with the players on the sideline. Frankly, zero connection with anybody. I don't get it. Okay, he's a mastermind. That's fine. I wouldn't want to play for him. Now, Pete, I was just up there for the alumni game against the Rams to start the season off. And one thing that he has done is he's brought us old guys in, and it's all about the alumni. He brings us to a practice. He brings us into the huddle to break the huddle down, talks us up, jumps around the huddle. He had as much energy as he did when I did that 10 years ago. But I will say I didn't see the players really buying into it. And I don't know if maybe, 14 years is a long time in the league. I was thinking, Tomlin's been doing that 17, but it's a different approach. Pete's a very raw guy, and we've seen him in the locker room after big games. And it takes a certain player to get behind that. So I don't, we had talked about it, right, Raphael? We had talked about the odds on him leaving, and we were pretty confident he wasn't going to. He hit the over on the wins. They weren't expected to do a whole lot. The talent on his team is, some spots great. Anyways, I love Pete. They're going to keep him around in honorarium. I don't think that they really need him, but
what I'm hearing, he's not going to be around.
Yeah, I mean,
They
doesn't
just
wanna do
did that for PR and PR reasons.
Yeah.
He doesn't
That
want to
happens
sit
a lot.
up in a box and chew gum. He wants to be home. His daughter lives down here. Emery and I invited him to our wedding. He goes, "Oh, I'm always looking for a reason to get to Orange County." So now I get to hit him up and have him come out to the wedding. It's not like he's doing anything now, so that's cool. And then Saban, that was, I think of all of them, that was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't see that coming at all. Other than, it's just, I'm done, I guess. And that I would defer to you guys, because you probably have more insight to that, because I'm not a big Saban fan. I mean, you have that many, you have a professional team on a collegiate level, you better win every year. So, I'm not really overly impressed with the coach, but I'm interested to see what that was all about.
So I want to go around and ask this. So Bill Belichick's legacy is tied to Tom Brady. If you look at his career without Tom Brady, mediocre coach. I mean, you could disagree with me, but I want to hear your opinion on this. So before Tom Brady was playing, he coached in Cleveland, mediocre. First couple of years before Brady, mediocre. Brady came in, got to the Super Bowl countless times. They have, 6 up there? Brady leaves, the team has steadily gotten worse. Now, so when you look at his legacy, do you think he is one of the best coaches of all time based on that information, or your personal opinion? In my opinion, I think he is one of the greatest defensive coordinators in history with what he's done. But as a head coach, I don't think he meets the mark. Charles?
So that's a difficult one, because I think just like any good quarterback needs a receiver and a 1-2 kind of punch, you need those people that you can trust. The Brady Belichick thing was a perfect storm for him to have land in his lap and run with. But like you said, I think he's hard to play for. I don't think that generally most of the players like him, but they trust that he's going to do the right thing to get them in the right place, to put them in a place to win. But when you lose a guy like Brady, who I think held everything together, then you start to see those little cracks in the armor, and over time they just get bigger. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I've noticed, is that he doesn't have that one other person that he can just be direct with, be himself with, and have them carry that message into the rest of the locker room. And as far as coaching goes, I think you have to put him in the conversation of one of the greatest, just because of the records, because of what he's done. But this doesn't help anything. The way it's gone down the stretch, the way it was in Cleveland for most of his time, it's hard to give him anything more than just, I found the right quarterback. I was able to have a good relationship-ish type of situation where he did what I needed and the team followed that lead and we were successful.
Brian?
This is a tough one for me. It is, right? Because I'm a huge Giants fan. We had two great
Giants fan.
Two great experiences with the Patriots in the Super Bowl. He's a Giant guy, right? Spent some pretty big time, carried off the field after winning the Super Bowl on Parcells' staff. When I look at it this way, you think about sort of the coach of the decades. He's the coach of the 2000s. He's the coach of the 2000s to today. So then you start building a Mount Rushmore off of there, and Vince Lombardi, George Halas, Tom Landry, him, Seifert. Those are names where you think about sort of multiple champion. There's a lot more that you could consider. I mean, look, man, in the 24 years he's been there, the other 31 teams in the NFL have gone through 160 coaches or something. The average is 5 coaches per team in the time Belichick has been there. And I would make the argument that, yes, I mean, Brady was a huge part of it, but it did take finding that, cultivating that, and then building an entire mega infrastructure around. I mean, don't forget, their defenses were outstanding. And I think you could also make the argument that the way they structure their team, which I think Bill was a big part of, and I think it's what's gotten away from him over the last 4 or 5 years, was constructing teams around that smartly. And you'd be hard pressed to say, boy, that guy was pretty good at getting a lot out of guys when maybe there was only a little left in the tank. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, Randy Moss, one of the greatest ever play receiver, but Moss comes in late in his career. And that season with Brady, I mean, they torched people. And then you think about those defenses with Vrabel and Brewski and just all those guys. I mean, those were nasty, dominant teams for a long time. We won't, the way the NFL is structured now, we just can't see another run like this. And I think Belichick, as much as Brady was part of it, they are connected at the hip. Now, the difference is Brady leaves, he has instantaneous success elsewhere, and the Patriots fall off. We're just going to remember that part of this run, and it's hard to separate that part of it out because that is reality. Brady left, he went and won a Super Bowl, and the Patriots have not looked very good since then. So, I mean, you'll remember that, but I mean, listen, it's not done. That's the last thing I'll say on this. It's not done for Belichick. He could go into a situation. Atlanta's an interesting one, right? Good, aggressive owner, involved, gets the game of football. Carolina, no way. There's no way he's going with David Tepper. That guy stinks. That's a dumpster fire. Nobody wants any part of that. That Washington one, boy, they got a lot of pieces. And
the new ownership group is
new ownership
attractive.
That's all in. They got the guy, Bob Myers from the Warriors. So like they're invested, right? Washington's invested. He's from Annapolis. So he kind of gets to go home and maybe bring his hometown team back to prominence. I mean, he's got a chance to bump the legacy back up a little bit, sort of post Brady stuff.
And the new owners are going to change the name. Thank you.
What are they going to go back? Are they going to go back? Can they go back?
I mean,
that's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I'm hearing 3 of them, but yeah, I know the Commandos are not the name that they.
I was a fan of
especially Magic. Magic does not, and if Magic says this name stinks,
well, gotta go with Magic.
It does stink. Red Tails, Red Wolves were someone. Red Tails was cool.
Red Tails would not go. No, Red Tails would be another PR nightmare.
No go.
If you do the research on why the Red Tails are the Red Tails, that'd be another PR nightmare. All right. Another PR nightmare.
So, Ralph, what's your opinion of Belichick's legacy at the moment?
Is he? I hate to put goats on coaches, especially because everyone thinks Phil Jackson's the GOAT. No, he's not. He had MJ, Pippen, then he goes to LA and he had Shaq and Kobe. It's not like Belichick went to the Panthers.
Popovich is over Jackson.
Yeah, if you can't think about it, I think Spo is probably up against Phil Jackson. You would name me someone else that he had besides when he had LeBron, and after that he still had success in that organization. So it's hard for me to say Belichick and then Brady goes to Tampa. It's not like Brady went to Tampa and he had high school kids. They had a whole bunch of people that came down there with 1-year contracts because Tom made a phone call. Gronk comes back. It's not like he went there and they had garbage. There was a stacked team in a weak division. We already knew that the Saints were on a downgraded in that division. Drew Brees couldn't throw. His bomb was a 10-yard pass, so it was not shocked that they were going to win that division. So I don't want to say Tom Brady, he won a Super Bowl without Belichick. Yeah, but he also had help that no one talks about. Brady won that Super Bowl. What, Brady played defense too that season? I don't think he did.
Yeah, I'm not comparing Brady to Belichick though, because I do agree with you that the Tampa team was stacked. But my thought on it was Belichick's head coaching career without Brady is totally not impressive.
Yeah, but
I do understand that he did things to help the team.
Any coach, and you don't have we'll say Carolina or anybody that doesn't have a quarterback right now. Belichick, he did not have a quarterback. It's not like he had a great backup. If you're in the NFL, you don't have a quarterback. You could be the greatest of all. You could be Belichick. You could be Jackson, Lombardi. If you don't have a quarterback, you're in legacy. You could be still a great X's and O's at practice and all that, but if you have no one that can run your scheme, and he didn't. How many quarterbacks? We all thought Mac and Cheese could have been that one. He was nowhere to be found. They had so many. Jimmy G, nowhere to be found in that organization. I think the reason why he didn't do it when Brady left, because he didn't have an elite quarterback in the NFL, which you need now to win.
What about you, Dave? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's what Raphael said. Pretty much everything I was thinking is, Brian was going through the Super Bowl years that Belichick had, and I just keep seeing, I keep thinking of just perfect storms, perfect system. Brady was a no-name cat coming in, and it was a system that worked. Because if you think about everyone that was surrounding them, they were like these little 5'8" little receivers nobody wanted, right? And Brady just made them stars. Made Gronk a star, and the defenses were the second thought. Everyone talks about Belichick having Brady. but the defenses were just you just didn't want to play them. But once again, they weren't named guys until Belichick made them names. Because you look back and you just think, well, who else was there? And everyone talks about Brady. And then to Raphael's point, Brady leaves. Yeah, Belichick falls off, but Brady didn't make Belichick. Belichick made Brady in the system that they had. And then Brady was fortunate enough to go on to another team that had a ton of targets. I mean, all you got to do is dig it to Evans, and that cat is just a beast, right? You dig it to Gronk, and he's a beast, and he's going to make you look like a goat. Anyhow, yeah. I played for Chuck Knox, so I get that stoic man. He ain't going to hug you. He'll shake your hand. Like the one kid, had a great game, and he was all jumping around, and Coach Belichick walked up. You're like deer in the headlights, shook his hand. Thanks, Coach. That's being a kid, But so that is a different approach, 180 from Pete, But
would it be great if Belichick goes somewhere and then he's like wearing polos and like having fun and like high-fiving players? He's just like a totally different guy. It's not going to happen. But
no, not going to happen. He was always that. He was always that in his pre-Patriot days. He was always there by himself. Everybody just let him be, and let him be the mastermind that he is. And I it's not a personality question. It's a success question, and you can't argue the success. And he has to go down as one of the best.
So I'm going to interject on the personality thing. That's his show persona. We all have our show personas here. I've spoken to Al Groh. I've interviewed him. He worked with Belichick on the Giants and then with the Jets. He said in the meeting rooms, Belichick is the funniest dude in the world, greatest personality. But when he's coaching and in front of the media and in front of the players, different guy. And I can respect that because, John Shear, who's on Sideline Sports with us, Dave and Raphael, I was scared to death first time I met him at the Super Bowl when we were going to do things in person. I was like, what am I getting myself into? This dude's crazy. In person, completely different. So I get it. I see it, and I can relate it. I'm glad to see he's not that stick in the mud as he is as a coach, that he has some personality, and I would love to actually see him bring some of that personality out. But it obviously works for him because he is one of the best coaches of all time. I just don't think he's the greatest. Real quick, because we're running short on time. Right now, with all the open positions in the NFL, what do you say are the top 2 jobs, and which one wouldn't you take no matter what they offered you? We'll start with you, Dave.
The top 2 jobs, you look at the Chargers and all the talent, but then you look at the ownership, and it's just like the Browns. The Browns are finally doing something, but I mean, you look at the Browns every single season going back a decade, and they should have wiped the slate with everybody based on a roster, but nobody wants to play for that ownership, and it translates into the product. I think that Seattle position, they have so much young talent up there, and you have money, and you
Homer.
Hey, where are they picking too, Dave? Where's Seattle picking?
I don't know. I think it's middle of the pack.
Mid first round. Yeah, but like Penix could be available for them. Like that's a good job.
Yeah, that would be, I'm telling you, I think of all of them, that Seattle gig is everything is in alignment there. And you've got great fans, great ownership, great team, great kids, great young players. So that's where I think I'd want to go.
Raphael?
I would Falcons and Chargers. I think if they bring Harbaugh is going to want to have a lot more control than every other coach in there. So that might loosen up the bad ownership that's been tied up on that one. I think he's going to want to own something like what Belichick did in the past with his contracts. So I think that could be a nice position for the Chargers and the Falcons. I think the division's horrible. The Saints are in their salary cap is awful, but the Panthers are the Panthers. And then you have Tampa. I think you have a running back, a tight end. Defense is really good. All you need is a quarterback, and there's a lot of names that are going to be in free agent and in the draft. So I think the Falcons, Washington's close. Washington and Atlanta for me are really, really close. But I've heard the new owners actually like Sam Howell. So if they're going to stick with Sam Howell,
and what job wouldn't you take?
I think
No
we
matter
all
what.
know what. I think we all know what that job is. I wouldn't take Carolina's job if all the consulting jobs that I do and all my charges of entertainment fees and stuff like that. If they said they would triple my pay and I can get part owner. First of all, Carolina's nice, but it's not that nice. No, they still get hurricanes there, and I said to Carolina, and it snows. So no, I want nothing to do with Carolina unless I can wear the Jordan gear. Like if Jordan's gonna buy Carolina, I could wear the Jumpman outfits. Then maybe.
Brian?
All right, listen, I'm only a few hours away from Charlotte. It's an easy move. Let me tell you why I'm taking the Panthers job. You guys are going to think I'm crazy. Bro, they're going to fire you anyways. You're going to get a huge payout. Like, great. Like, fine. Take the Panthers. Their owner's an idiot. He's going to pay you out anyway. So just take the Panthers job. You can do whatever you want after that. You'll be living large on 70 mil for doing nothing. No, man, right. That's a bit of a joke. There's some good jobs out there. Justin Herbert, man, the idea of you get a good coach in there that can coach up a quarterback, and you got Justin Herbert. As a Giants fan, right? I'm remembering picking Daniel Jones and Justin Herbert being available the next year. Like, come on, guys. What are we doing? So it's probably, I mean, the only problem with the Chargers is like nobody cares. Who cares? So I think it's Atlanta. I like Seattle too. I like that Seattle job a lot. I like that. I like that fan base. I like the passion. I'd be fine coaching in Seattle.
And Seattle's got the 16th pick. And when we talked, when Dave was gracious to invite me to Hawk Talk to talk with you guys on there. Remember, I told you guys that Seattle's looking for defense first in that pick.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to shore up that run defense. Oh my gosh, it's a sieve.
Yeah, I can't. I know I said on you guys' show. I think it was the Ohio State edge rusher. I think that's why I said that they were probably going to take.
Yeah.
All right, Charles.
I think there's a couple interesting ones for sure. You mentioned a number of them. I think Seattle's very interesting. I think Washington actually has some interesting kind of pull to it. I guess the biggest thing is I'd focus if I was looking for a place not to go. Obviously, Carolina's just a dumpster fire. But I personally would avoid New England just because you're replacing Belichick. Yeah. And that's just that's terrifying in a number of ways, which I also think is a problem for Alabama in replacing Saban. Like, if you're one of the big name coaches, do you want that? Do you really want to take that on, especially in the new landscape with the NIL and everything else? If you're in a place that has money and it's decent, why try to go that way and fight the legacy that you're stepping into? So for me, I would avoid New England just because. Do you really want to be the guy who steps in there and tries to figure it out after Belichick?
That's why Jared Mayo is probably going to be the head coach. He's been there with him. The players already know him. It's hard to bring Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, and all that to take that legacy. At least Jared Mayo's been there with the legacy, so it won't be that hard of a situation.
Yeah, it's still a ridiculous thing to have to do, and it's hard to build your career on replacing a legend because you have to be really good, or people are going to just forget about you. It's going to be hard to get that second job.
Hey, Charles brought up an interesting. We were all talking NFL, and he brought up the Bama thing. You know, it used to be when a coach would vacate, you know, then the new coach would inherit all that great recruiting. But what happens now?
Totally different now.
Saban leaves. You know what that portal's going to look like, and those kids are all running for money. NIL, they're going out. They're going shoot. You know, hey, you want me? $250,000 gone, and that roster is going to be depleted so quick. And so that's going to be a tough gig for a coach to replace an icon and to do it with scrubs that you pick up out of the portal that's willing to come in and take a risk on you.
That's why I think that's why I think Dan Lanning from Oregon is going to take it because he has a.
He said no. He came out today and said no.
He came out today, but I'm hearing that's
crazy.
Probably.
Well, I don't know why you would leave Oregon.
No.
Like you've got was it Nike? And you've got
the Nike money. There's
you're going to the Big Ten.
If I'm like Kiffin, money. Why wouldn't you? That was your dream job. I know they just banked.
It's Dabo too, right? Dabo played there, right? Huge part of his life.
See, I think Dabo won't go there because he doesn't like the NIL. He doesn't like the transfer portal. That's why they have not played well.
But I could see him going there because he doesn't care about the transfer portal, and it's Alabama. Like if he's not going to do the transfer stuff and he's not going to do the NIL stuff, why not go to a name that's more universally long-term, like legacy-based, remembered? Alabama is much better than Clemson from a traditional standpoint. Like
I want Dion to go there. Can you imagine a commercial?
That's what I said. Well, they're already in the Affleck commercials
Yeah, they're
together.
in the Affleck commercials. All you
Right.
just put a red
It was all-
jacket on.
It was all a ploy to get Dion to Bama. Well,
Yeah.
guys, if you enjoyed this show, this is a cast of NGBN's top host. You know, there's many more that aren't here, unfortunately, because we did this at the last minute with all the breaking news. We got Charles Schultz, the host of The Edge of Greatness, Brian Jonas, host of Pick Up the Six and the F3 Circle of Trust, Dave DeRoche of Hawk Talk, and of course, Sideline Sports. Rafael Esparza, he's everywhere, but most importantly, he's on Sideline Sports every week with us. You know, make sure you download the NGBN app on January 29th. It'll be available for download. It's the sneak peek. We got some exciting things happening. Learn more on ngbn.tv about the station, about the mission, about the values. But we look forward to doing this more often. You know, I think it's important. This way you can see what all the different hosts have and what we can share. And we all love working together. It's a great group of people. So we look forward to seeing you more in the future. And thanks so much for tuning in.
Go Blue.